This is Dante Williams, and you watching
Dante's
Boxing Nation.
This is Showtime Sean Portman.
Filipino Flash, Jesse Burns.
This is Al Bernstein. You're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.
Hi, I'm Sugar Ray.
Chick Shape.
Sergio the last name more.
Dante's Boxing Nation. Boom, 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 boom.
Yo, this is Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder.
My name is Gennady Golovkin.
And you're watching
Dante's Boxing Nation.
Hi, this is Julian Jackson, and this is Dante Boxing Nation.
This is Julia Jackson, and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation. All right. Now, Andre Ward, I want to ask you, like I said, you say Rubio is a real fighter. Do you think Andre Ward is a real fighter?
Yes, of course. Andre, he's big champion, super middleweight. He's a big fight for us. Just he's big champion, the super middleweight and champion middleweight for future. Just for future, it's a good fight.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? For all the fans that have been pulling the Andre Ward is inactive card, and that's the reason why Andre Ward shouldn't get to fight Gennady Golovkin. To all the Golovkin fans who said that, I got some bad news for you. That excuse, that inactive card, has been completely revoked. You can no longer use that excuse anymore. It's on to the next excuse now. And you know who you could thank for this? Gennady Golovkin and his promoter, Tom Loeffler. That's right. This is amazing. When I read this, I couldn't believe it. Before I get into Tom Loeffler's admission, let me go ahead and give you guys a little summary of what's been going on recently. Now, we all know that there's been a whole lot of talks, a whole lot of articles about Andre Ward, pound for pound the best fighter in the world, calling out Gennady Golovkin, right? Now, the excuse that a lot of Golovkin fans have been using recently is Andre Ward is inactive. Andre Ward's only had 3 fights in 2 years, and et cetera, right? That's the reason why I don't want to see him get an opportunity to fight against Gennady Golovkin. Let the fight build up. He needs to become more relevant because he's so inactive. That's always the key word, inactive, right? Inactivity is the excuse that they use for why Gennady Golovkin shouldn't fight pound for pound the best fighter in the world, Andre Ward. Now get this. You guys ready for it? Okay. Why did Tom Loeffler just recently do an interview where he said that he and Gennady Golovkin are still interested in fighting the retired and quote-unquote inactive Carl Froch? They still want that fight. Now, talk about inactivity, huh? Now fans say that Gennady Golovkin shouldn't fight Andre Ward because Ward is inactive. But yet, Tom Loeffler and Gennady Golovkin, and we already know the fans would have no problem with it, they're willing to fight another fighter at 168 who hasn't had a fight in 17 months. And he is retired as we speak. I can't make this shit up. I can't. Matter of fact, I'll put the link in the description box so you can actually read the actual statement that Tom Loeffler made in an interview that he did. This is what I like to call a classic contradiction. The excuses for why Golovkin should not fight Andre Ward is rapidly becoming unraveled as we speak. Every part of the excuse is being exposed right now. Now, I just thought about it. When Golovkin was calling out Carl Froch, Nobody said Golovkin doesn't need to fight Carl Froch because he's inactive. You guys have to remember, Carl Froch, he hasn't had a fight since May 31st of 2014 when he fought against George Groves in a rematch. Doesn't that mean he's just as inactive or even more? Actually, I shouldn't say he's just as. He's more inactive than Andre Ward has been. But guess what? When Golovkin was calling out Carl Froch, and Carl Froch, he decided to retire, everyone said they wanted to see that fight, and they started saying that Carl Froch was a chicken, he was a coward. You even had writers that were basically calling him a chicken, a coward. You had ESPN's Dan Raphael telling Carl Froch to take the fight and why won't you fight, indirectly calling him a coward, right? Nobody was saying Carl Froch is inactive and there's no reason why Golovkin should fight that guy, right? Then you had some people that were making the excuse, when it came to Andre Ward, they was using every excuse in the book. Oh, he's inactive. Oh, he's fighting at 168. Golovkin wants to clean up the middleweight division first. Didn't he tell you guys that already? I see people posting comments like that. He wants to stay at 160 and clean that division up first. But then he turns around and he calls out Chavez Jr. Then he calls out Carl Froch. Then fans start saying, well, he shouldn't fight the pound for pound best fighter in the world, Andre Ward, because Andre Ward is what? Inactive. So let me get this straight. Andre Ward just fought June of this year, and he's about to fight again in November. But he's inactive, so Golovkin shouldn't fight him. But wait a minute. You guys don't mind watching Golovkin against Carl Froch, who hasn't had a fight in 17 months, and he's not even an active fighter? He's not even a fighter anymore. He's retired. But you guys prefer to see that fight. We know what time it is. We know what time it is. Now, for the record, I just want to let people know that I wanted to see Golovkin versus Carl Froch. I thought that would have been an excellent fight to watch. But what I don't understand is, why is it I can clearly see that Golovkin versus Andre Ward would be a big fight. And I would love to see that fight. That's the fight I want to see. At the same time, I would like to see Golovkin versus Carl Froch. I would love to see that fight. But why is it when it comes to the Golovkin fans, they contradict themselves? They want to watch Golovkin versus Carl Froch, but they don't want to watch Golovkin versus Andre Ward. Why is it? It's a rhetorical question, of course. Remember, you can't use the inactivity excuse anymore because Tom Loeffler destroyed that excuse. You're going to have to come up with a whole nother excuse now. You're going to have to say some shit like, oh, it's because Andre Ward, he uses the name Son of God. And you know, Golovkin is very religious and he doesn't like people using the Lord's name like that. You know, some ridiculous excuse. You're going to have to come up with a new one. Because the inactive excuse has been blown to smithereens. Okay? You know what I don't understand is, why won't these boxing fans and Team Golovkin, why don't they just save themselves the trouble and just be honest? Why don't they just come out and give Andre Ward the respect that every other professional boxer and trainer that I interview give him, and just say, you know what? Andre Ward is a fantastic fighter, very talented, and it's not going to be the easiest fight. We want to take our time before we fight someone on that level. You would be amazed how much the fans would respect Golovkin for just being honest. How much the fans would respect Tom Loeffler, Golovkin's trainer Abel Sanchez, if they just came out and they just gave Andre Ward the credit that he deserves. Instead of throwing darts at him, calling Andre Ward a diva, because that's what trainer Abel Sanchez said, which once again, it doesn't make sense to me. It's Andre Ward that's basically calling you out, and you in return call him a diva, which we know a diva is a woman. It's pretty much like Abel Sanchez is calling Andre Ward a bitch. What's the difference? A diva, a bitch, etc. Right? I always picture the scenario of a kid coming to another kid's house. Now that kid is inside the house. You have this kid outside challenging him to a fight. Come outside, I want to fight you. Let's fight right now. But the kid, he won't come outside. But then the kid's big brothers and cousins and everyone else, they yelling out the window, "Shut up, you bitch. You a diva. You ain't nobody. You a punk," etc., etc., right? But yet, the kid who's being called out, he won't come outside. Guys, Gennady Golovkin is 34, 35 years old. I think it's about time for him to come outside. And I'm sure when he comes outside, Andre Ward is going to be waiting right there by the front door. You know, it wasn't too long ago that Gennady Golovkin was the kid outside, and he was telling Sergio Martinez to come out and fight. And Sergio Martinez didn't want to come outside. And I was defending Gennady Golovkin. I was making, you guys can go back. That's what I love about YouTube. There is a public diary to prove everything that I've been saying since day one. I got about probably 3 or 4 videos basically saying Sergio Martinez has made every excuse why he doesn't want to fight Golovkin. Every single time Golovkin gets closer to Sergio Martinez or Team Martinez, they would throw up another roadblock. Golovkin would get over that roadblock. Then they would throw out another one. I remember like it was yesterday. Sergio Martinez, people first start saying that Golovkin was a nobody. Golovkin needs to fight the competition that we've been in the ring. Why doesn't he beat one of the guys that we already beat? Then Golovkin got in the ring and he fought Matthew Macklin, knocked him out. Then they said Golovkin should fight Curtis Stevens. I want to see him fighting a young, strong American, right? Golovkin, he got in the ring, he knocked out Curtis Stevens. Sergio Martinez still wouldn't come outside. So this is just to let you guys know, for the Golovkin fans that are so emotionally attached, who sit over here and say, oh, you just hate Golovkin, etc., etc. How do you hate someone because you want them to fight better competition? How does that work? So what are you saying? You're saying that the people who don't want to see him fight the best, they're the ones who really like him? Oh, but the fans, the boxing fans who want to see him basically step up in competition, fight in a gold medal match, they must hate him. Because anyone that wants to see Golovkin be in a position where he may lose, they couldn't possibly like him. But if I encourage Golovkin to continue to fight the Willie Monroes, David Lemieux, and if he beats Lemieux and he can't get the winner of Canelo versus Cotto, then hey, how about David Lemieux part 2, right? The rematch, because the first fight was so entertaining. So if I tell you guys that's what I want to see, does that mean that I'm a #1 Golovkin fan then? Why is it when I wanted Golovkin to fight Sergio Martinez, nobody said I hated Sergio Martinez? When I said Adonis Stevens should fight against Sergey Kovalev, how come no one said I hated Adonis? Right? When I said I would love to see Errol Spence fight Keith Thurman, nobody said I hate Keith Thurman. Why is it only when I say Golovkin should fight Andre Ward. These radical Golovkin fans, they accuse me of hating Golovkin. It makes no sense. And at the end of the day, we know what time it is. Man, I like Golovkin a lot. I really do. I was actually in camp with Golovkin. I was helping him get prepared for sparring. Don't take my word for it. Here, check out the pictures. For those of you guys who don't know, Abel Sanchez told me that this cabin that they have in Big Bear, this is literally Golovkin's second home. A lot of times Golovkin lives in this cabin and he stays in this cabin longer than he stays at home with his family in a year. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, the last two football teams to go to the Super Bowl was the Seattle Seahawks versus the New England Patriots, right? Have you ever heard of a Seahawk fan getting emotional and calling another football fan a hater because that fan said that he wants to see the Seahawks versus the New England Patriots? That sounds ridiculous, right? What you boxing fans don't realize, you emotionally attached Golovkin fans, what you don't realize is you show that you have no confidence in Gennady Golovkin when you say silly stuff like these guys that want to see Andre Ward, fight Golovkin, they just hate Golovkin because they want him to lose. Wait a minute, why would losing even be on your mind? Unless you know that Andre Ward is a better fighter, or you believe that Andre Ward is a better fighter. And if you do believe that he's a better fighter, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. In fact, anything is better than making up all of these silly excuses and calling Andre Ward a bitch, calling him a diva. I see people posting messages on, my Golovkin videos saying, fuck Andre Ward. Fuck Andre Ward? Why? Why has this gotten so personal? And guys, this is just further proof that fighters on the coincidental list, it doesn't matter what they do outside of boxing, because Andre Ward, he hasn't done anything crazy outside of boxing for people to dislike him. But it wasn't until he mentioned a fighter who's not on the coincidental list, Gennady Golovkin. It wasn't until he mentioned Triple G's name, that's when the hate began. It's funny because it actually reminds me of Larry Holmes versus Jerry Cooney. Larry Holmes said when he signed the contract to fight against Jerry Cooney fans drove past his house, shot out his mailbox. He was receiving hate mail. I mean, it was getting ugly just because he was fighting against Jerry Cooney, right? When Larry Holmes was fighting against other fighters on a coincidental list like Ken Norton, he wasn't getting no hate mail. Nobody was shooting at his house. But when he fights Jerry Cooney, that changes the whole game. This is what we're seeing with Andre Ward versus Gennady Golovkin. It wasn't nobody calling Andre Ward a bitch until Andre Ward said he wanted to fight against Gennady Golovkin. This is supposed to be about boxing and nothing else. If you are a real boxing fan, you want to see the best fight the best, regardless if you know that your favorite fighter may be the underdog, etc., etc. I mean, almost all of us have been in a situation where maybe our favorite fighter or our favorite team was in a lose-lose situation, or maybe it was just going to be an uphill battle and we knew that our team was the underdog, right? But we didn't say we didn't want to watch it. I know I never said that. I still want to see it. It's funny how these fans, they try to use the excuse why they don't like this fighter, why they don't like that fighter. Oh, that guy, I don't like the way he acts, and etc., etc. But it's so crazy because a lot of these fans are the most disrespectful people than I've ever come across. At least the ones posting these messages, etc., etc. They show no type of respect to the sport or the fighters. Some of these Golovkin fans that just want to defend Golovkin. Listen, man, there's nothing wrong with saying, I'm a diehard Golovkin fan, I like Golovkin, etc., etc. Nothing wrong with that. If you root for Golovkin through thick and thin, more power to you. But don't shit on the other guy who wants to challenge him. What's that all about? There is a word that we learned probably in elementary, and the word is sportsmanship. If we learned this in elementary, why aren't boxing fans showing some form of sportsmanship when it comes to these boxers? How do you disrespect a fighter just because he wants to fight against your favorite fighter? Does that make any sense? Just because he has a chance to beat him? Because we don't see these fans disrespecting Willie Monroe, Marco Antonio Rubio. Oh, but when it comes to pound for pound, the best fighter in the world, Andre Ward, it's fuck Andre Ward? He's a bitch? Why is it so personal? You're not even talking boxing anymore. This is something else you talking. Right? But we know what time it is at the end of the day. I'll close with saying this. To these emotional type Golovkin fans, you can't have it both ways. You can't sit here and tell people that Golovkin is the best fighter in the world, but then at the same time protect him from the best fighter in the world, the real best fighter in the world, and that's Andre Ward. Now, we all know that Golovkin and Golovkin fans, they would love to see Golovkin fight another fighter that's not on a coincidental list, like the winner of Canelo versus Cotto. But if you guys haven't been listening to what Cotto and Canelo have been saying about fighting Gennady Golovkin and Oscar De La Hoya, which is of course Canelo's promoter, then it may surprise you when I tell you that Canelo and Cotto, they are in no hurry to fight the much bigger, much stronger Gennady Golovkin. And that's not to suggest that they don't have a chance, because I believe they do. I believe Cotto in particular, he has a very good chance. But at the same time, they are in no hurry to fight him. So Golovkin wants to fight one of these 154 pounders, but what if they don't fight him? What if the winner of Cotto Canelo, what if they're not willing to fight Golovkin? Who is he going to fight next? Now, I would like to see Golovkin even fight against the winner of Danny Jacobs versus Peter Quillin. But that fight may not happen, maybe because of the PBC situation, unless Golovkin is willing to fight on the PBC series, or I don't know, however they could possibly negotiate that fight. Now, credit to Golovkin. Golovkin, he has been trying to make the Peter Quillin fight. Now, of course, Peter Quillin is no Andre Ward, but at the same time, Golovkin did try to fight that guy. But the great champions, this is what they do. When this guy is ducking, or this guy is ducking or doesn't want to fight, they look for another challenge. Let's see if Golovkin is willing to do that. If he can't get the winner of Cotto Canelo, Andre Ward is sitting there, and Andre Ward is now active, and you can no longer use the inactive excuse. So let's see what Gennady Golovkin does, assuming he gets past David Lemieux this weekend, which I believe he will get past very easily. That's all I got for now. I'm on to the next one.